laid in the light and shadow, and it's time to kind of analyze what I see, what's working for me, what isn't. The best way to do that is to step back. I see a couple of things already that I know I'm going to want to shift. I don't like the orange that I chose to put into the vase in the bottom. I'll sort of balance that out with some really pale greens maybe. There'll be some areas in the bottom where I want to bring some light in to walk an eye into the painting a little bit more softly than just have the light rise up from that vase. This is where we get into it, and we get to make some artistic decisions. Life has told us what's in light and what's in shadow. Now our artistic little hearts get to tell us where we want to lose an edge or amplify a little texture or send something back or bring it forward. So let's get up there and do it. All right, so I'm going to start with a couple of color corrections in here, things that I'm not happy with. The vase is just too warm down here, too much orange. So I mixed up sort of a muted green, and I don't know what this is going to do yet, but we're going to try it. It's a little more neutral. It's a pretty neutral color, but the painting's not about the vase. It's about the flowers. So I needed to cool that down a little bit and set it back there. All right. I'm going to go into some of my shadow colors in this vase. And make some adjustments there. It's receiving a little bit less light up here at the neck. And I'm going to look for opportunities to lose an edge and to soften an edge. So this form continues. We talked about like when the cone or the cylinder went around into the distance, the edge here is soft because it continues into the distance. So I could do that with a relatively clean brush by just dragging down the edge like that. Soften the other side. These values are kind of similar in here, so I might just lose the edge altogether because I want to. Maybe I put one small piece in there to just suggest the edge. Soften that. I feel like I want something a little bit warmer in this area to come forward. These shadows recede sort of around the edges, and I want something in here that makes it come towards me. Let's see what we could do in there. So I'm adding just a tick of red. I'm adding just a tick of red to this purple that I have in my shadows in here, just to warm it up a little bit. We've got this color harmony that we started with the purple and the orange and the green. That doesn't mean that every color in there has to be purple, orange, or green. We get to kind of mix it up a little bit. It's all, it's in harmony at this point. We're going to make it a little bit more interesting. We hope. That's the whole idea, right? To me, I guess I know it's in harmony when I look at it and I just want to sort of walk into it, or I want to stand in it. I want to stay there for a little while. If it's not in harmony, then your eye is kind of like, ugh, get me out of here, you know? But if it is in harmony, you want to hang out for a little bit. So hopefully by the time you're done with this, y'all want to hang out for a little bit. I'm going to jump into some of these leaves. The little part of the leaf just curves under like that, boom. It's not getting any light under there. It's a dark little boop. It's a super light touch. Kind of pull it around. And then I'm going to take a little of my light color again here. Gussy up that light a little bit. Forward. Goes under a little bit there. I want to vary my brush strokes a little bit. I don't want all my strokes going in the same direction. A horizontal line is a fast line. I will read it quickly. It'll go like zip right across. But if you interrupt it with a vertical line, then it sort of stops the eye and slows you down a little bit. So you use those directional strokes to make someone go fast or slow them down. This leaf is green, but the complement to green is red. So I have a brown here that's pretty, it's a pretty reddish brown, and I'm going to use that, a little tick of that in the shadow because I think it will be beautiful. And look, it is. See? That's what complementary colors will do to each other. Put them next to each other and they dance for you. It's fun stuff. The trick here is to not overdo it. Not go, oh, wow, that looks great. I'll do it again and again and again and again. You use little pieces of that magic. And not all in the same spot. Let's go into this sunflower right here. Texture can be seen most closely where the light meets the shadow, where the light meets the dark. That's where you're really going to see that pattern and that texture the most. And there's a lot of that going on in these flowers. If a form continues, it's a softer edge. If the form stops, it's a harder edge. So these petals continue. So I'm gonna just sort of soften up this transition from light to dark. And I'm gonna, with my brush, just pull this out a little bit. Soften up these transitions a little bit. And then I want an uneven shape or some uneven space before I drop another one in there. I kind of like the shape of that. I like the way your eye sort of comes up and down, zoop, 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 like a little, like taking you for a ride. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to take people's eyes for a little ride. First, we have to take ourselves for a little ride. That's the most important thing. And then if we enjoy it and we like the end result, then chances are other people that look at it will feel that, that awesome little vibe that you put in there. And then they'll be happy too. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do here, the inside that I put here is, I mixed up kind of it's very purple, and it's a little too cool for the warmth of this flower. And while the cools and the warmths will play really nicely against each other, it's a little too cool. So I have a brown that's a little bit more warm. There's more red in it. The darkest parts of the inside of this flower are this area in the middle and then right around the edges. And then those edges sort of almost come out a little bit between some of these petals. And that's a nice, delicate touch. Don't want to do too many of these. This is where like the power of suggestion is amazing. Just suggest it in a couple of spots and make sure they're not evenly spaced, not like boom, boom, boom. There's more space here than there is here. This one is little and short, You want to break it up, even if you don't see it in your photograph. Make it that way. I kind of like where that's going. There's some things coming forward here. We have purple. And we have some browns. I see this beautiful little raised piece of light. I know that this area is darker in its base state than any of the petals on this flower. So the light that is in this area has to be darker than any of the light that is in this area, right? We've covered all this. You already know that. I'm just, just a reminder, but you know that already. Okay, I'm going to add a little light in there. Vary my brush strokes. I'm going to try this muted green that I put down here. If I can use it somewhere up here. That's the other way to make sure that everything stays in harmony. If I have a color that I've used down here, where else in where else in this canvas might that color work? That color would probably work in the light of one of these leaves. A little dash of it here. And then there's harmony between here and there. All right. I need kind of a dark orange in here. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, that'll work. I like that. Sort of runs around in a circle. I want to clean up this shape in here a little bit. I picked up some of that green, which is a really strong green. So I'm going to go back in with a nice big pile of this orange and lay it on in one quick stroke and get out of there. If I noodle around, I'm going to pick up that green that's under there. Sometimes you want to do that. Sometimes you want to pick up what's under there, and you know when you run your brush across it, it's going to interact with what you already have down there. So sometimes you want that, but I didn't want it right then. I think this edge is really harsh here, so I cleaned my brush. I pulled all the moisture out of the brush, and I'm just going to hit it like that. Sort of send it in whatever direction I want it to go in. I might want it to go in the other direction. I could take this background color and just sort of cut into it. And I think I like the other direction better. I want to bring somebody's eye in here, and I don't want to send them too far off the canvas, so one little stroke in that direction might pull them back around. I'm also going to look at the light that is in these flowers, this really bright yellow. There might be highlights in there that are really getting like super pure, like beautiful zingy light. So we might have one more transition of light into the highlights, and in the shadows there might be one more transition, that softens some of these edges. And so let's see, how about if we go into this light right now, and if I'm going to mix up a light, like a super light light, just to accent a spot or two, I'm going to go into my purple here, and I'm going to make like a super pale purple. Super pale. And just see what that happens if I just... I want to be careful not to overdo it. Like a kid with a new toy. Before you know it, you don't ever want to play with that toy again. Okay, that's almost getting too much. So I put 4 marks in there like that. I'm going to let them sit for a little while. Okay, so I'm going to go into all these flowers and soften up the edges a little bit, and to decide if the form continues and I need to soften the edge, or if the form ends and it's more of a crisp edge. If it's a very crisp edge, it's going to draw someone's eye to it. If it's a more pure color, it's going to draw an eye. If I have brush strokes leading in that direction, it's going to direct an eye. So I'm going to go in here and do some of that. We'll see what happens.